Woods and Waters with your host, Bud Leavitt.
Well, alcohol and drugs. That should hit you right in the eye right off the bat. And a thing called Moore. Does that catch you? Well, we'll tell you about it in a moment. I want you to meet Jim Condon of Blue Hill. Nice to have you here, Jim.
Well, thank you, Bud.
Got a co-host tonight. I don't know how he's going to act, but I'm going to try him out. John Henry Williams here. Now, I hope that you don't panic between Mike Noyes on your left and Jim over here and be intimidated by me. Glad you're here.
I'll try. Thank you.
Will you try?
Yes, it's fun to be here. This
Is
going
it?
to be fun, yeah.
It's going to be fun, is it?
Hope you can keep
Michael,
up.
good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
5 years since you and I
It's been a long time, yeah.
did this program. Have you improved any?
Well,
In what way?
I'm not sure what you're talking about now, but things have been going real well.
Really?
Yeah.
Got a new addition to family?
Yes, yeah. We've got 3 children, 2 foster children now, so we've got a big family, but great kids too.
Great kids.
Yeah.
How many would you have if you could afford it?
Oh God, if I could afford it, certainly my wife would have 2 dozen anyway. But as I say, we love kids, and things are going real well.
Did you hunt this fall?
I got out a few times. It was been a warm, windy year, and of course came home from Thanksgiving with absolutely nothing again, like I have the past few years. But had a great time out there.
I heard there were rumors around Herman that you had a shot early in the year and you passed it up.
My boss told me, don't ever pass up a deer. You'll never see another one. And second week into archery season, I let a big doe walk right out from under me, and thinking that there were going to be bigger and better things coming along, and I saw nothing after that, absolutely nothing.
How close was the doe to you?
She darn close.
Was?
Of course, being a hunter like me, I could have had it if I wanted to. I tell myself that.
He's a pretty good hunter.
I know, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. He was
bow
just being
hunts.
kind.
He bow hunts.
I know it. Good shot?
With the rifle, I guess I'm an average shot, yeah.
How about with the bow?
With the bow, I'm a poor shot, but I enjoy it anyway.
Getting better?
Yeah, I don't do much actual hunting with the bow. Instead, I do a lot of target practice.
Use a compound bow?
Yeah. Lightweight compound bow.
Wow.
Good fun. And my son's getting into it now too, so it's real nice.
How old's your son?
He's 7.
Oh, that's good. That must be fun.
Yeah.
He's a soccer referee.
Doing a lot of running. That's terrific. I'm impressed. I never thought someone like this could.
Well, one of the things that Moore is trying to do is allow all people to know the abilities of people with disabilities, to know that if you have a disability, it means you can't use one part of your body, but look at all the other parts of our body that we still have, and we still should be able to get out and work and have a family and certainly recreate in the state of Maine and enjoy life. And we're focusing on that.
The new law allows physically handicapped people to participate during the bow season.
Exactly.
How much of an impact has that made? Have there been some people try it?
I certainly it's helped me. We passed a law 2 years ago that allows people without any arms to, rather than use a compound bow or use a bow, which is real difficult, obviously, and takes a tremendous amount of skill and training, to use a rifle instead. And we at first thought, we meaning me and Gary Anderson and Commissioner Vail, who's a super individual, thought that maybe a crossbow might be used, but we looked at it and did a little research into it and decided that a rifle might be better and more acceptable. So we went with that, and we got it. And hopefully in a few years we can expand it to perhaps allow somebody who maybe has their arms but can't use one arm for stroke victims, or certainly people who were in the military and had accidents and so forth, to get out again and enjoy the archery season like everybody else.
What does MORE mean?
MORE stands for Maine Outdoor Recreation for Everyone. And a few weeks ago, I was invited down to Washington by President Bush as he was signing the ADA, the American Disability Act, which is an act that's going to allow people with disabilities to get out and use buses and trains and airplanes. So people are going to start seeing the 43 million Americans who have disabilities, and they're going to start seeing their capabilities. And we believe that they should also, along with being taught how to work and how to pay taxes and how to have families, they should also be taught how to enjoy life, which is, in the way we enjoy life is by going out and hunting and fishing and snowmobiling and snowshoeing and skiing and so forth. And people with disabilities should be allowed access to these as well.
How many of those subjects do you do?
I guess I do almost all of them. I love the state of Maine, I always have. And I grew up with the belief that if you live in the state of Maine and you don't learn how to use it, then you're wasting a tremendous part of your life. You really are. And that's true of everybody in this room. And it's also true of me, despite having a handicapping condition, that if I wouldn't have learned how to downhill ski and snowshoe and ice skate and even roller skate and
You don't roller skate?
oh yeah.
Have you roller skated?
I was took my son roller skating last winter, and I was doing real well, and all of a sudden, of course, I fell down. I bumped my knee, like everybody falls down every once in a while, and they bump their knee. But I've always considered myself this real tough guy, and I went to these snowmobile clubs the next few weeks, and I wanted to tell a white lie and tell them that I hurt myself skiing, because I thought that hurting myself roller skating wasn't a very manly thing to do, but I did it anyway. But yeah, I do all those sports and really enjoy it.
Years ago, he told me a fabulous story. You were going to Dexter, and your car broke down.
Yes, yeah. I'll never forget that night.
It was an extremely cold night, wasn't
It was a wicked cold night, and snow's flying and the wind's howling, and my car breaks down. And
Well, what happened? I mean, just quit on you?
yeah, well, apparently the linkage was sticking outside, and the car had froze up and so forth. And if I remember right, the car kept speeding up and wouldn't slow down, and I finally pulled it off to the side of the road, and unfortunately I had to get under the hood, so I pulled the latch, and I slipped my shoes on and got outside, and lifted the hood up on my shoulder, and then slid around so the hood was on the back of my shoulder, and then I slid myself all the way down to where the hinges are, and I reach up and I grab that post that you have to stick up. Unfortunately, you know, it's like 35,000 degrees below zero this particular night, and the wind's howling, and it's black, you know, just the black of night, and I'm trying to get that little hole in that the hood of the car, and I finally did it, and I sprayed some WD-40, and I worked the linkage loose, and then I can get back. And
how'd you hold a can of WD-40?
well, my feet work like your hands work, and my toes work like your fingers. So anything that you do with your hands and your fingers, I do with my toes and my feet. So,
Like you could pick up that cup of...
or I can pick up I write with my feet and eat with my feet and wash my hair and brush my teeth. And again, I do all the things that you do. I just use other parts of my body to do it.
Mike, did you ever try to fly cast?
Yes, I did some fly casting when I went to the University of Maine at Farmington down with Roger Wing down there. We went out and did some fly casting. And I sit on the side of the bank, and there was no trees around or anything, so had a real nice time up there.
Jim, your view of this little my friend here on the left.
Excuse me? I think he's a remarkable man.
Isn't he?
Yes.
You have a question for him?
Well, in this organization, MORE, that you belong to, does the subject of alcohol or drug abuse ever come up in any of the meetings that you go to or presentations that you make?
Certainly in presentations, and in fact, you know, one of the things I try to do when I run an education program through the Pine Tree Society, or the Pine Tree Camp, and we're trying to allow people with disabilities, children without disabilities, to know more about people with disabilities. And as I speak to children and to adults about alcoholism and drug abuse and so forth, I really try to focus, or really try to allow people to realize that, to me, alcoholism, to me, drug abuse is not the problem. The problem is self-esteem. The problem is self-identity. The problem is a lot of our children don't like themselves very much and don't understand what their capabilities are. And because you don't like yourself and because you don't understand what your capabilities are, it leads you to problems such as drug abuse and alcoholism and a lot of the other real problems that we have in society.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very big part of the problem of substance abuse.
Jim, you're at Blue Hill now.
Right.
Blue Hill Memorial Hospital. You've been there how long now?
Well, I've been there since May of this year.
Mm-hmm. What are the plans with respect to the hospital? What are the commitments with respect to alcohol and drug use?
Well, the hospital is very committed to providing these services as far as trying to educate and help people overcome these problems. In fact, we've just expanded the Alcohol Services Department to Deer Isle, to the Island Medical Center. We're going to have office hours down there as well, starting in December of this year. One of the things we're trying to do is create public awareness for not only our programs, but the fact that alcohol and drug abuse also plays a part in other activities that we all, or most people, engage in. And we always hear a lot about the drunk driver, OUIs, and things like that, and how alcohol or drugs play a part in domestic violence and all kinds of other crimes. But working in a hospital, you see a lot of people come in the emergency room for a lot of different reasons. And it's surprising the number of people you see come in there, snowmobile accidents, ATVs, and this kind of thing. And this really kind of got my interest up, so I wanted to know for myself how much alcohol played a part in some of these accidents and some of these other activities. So I went and I got some statistical reports from the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. And surprisingly, snowmobilers have the highest rate of alcohol-related accidents out of the four groups that I looked at, which was hunting, boating, snowmobiling, and ATV use.
I would have said boating.
Well, you have to remember that this report only based their facts on reported incidences. So I would assume that probably the numbers are actually higher because a lot of accidents don't actually get reported to this department. Okay.
Mr. Condon and I
Yes.
were talking about this earlier before the show started and so forth. And I think what first of all, two things tend to play when you talk about snowmobilers. You're not, or when I talk about snowmobilers, like the snowmobilers that support Pine Tree Camp, you're talking about an organization of tremendous people, and yet when you hear a report about accidents and so forth, you tend to be talking about a person on a snowmobile rather than a snowmobile, and I think it's important to draw that distinction. Also, what tends to happen is when you're out in the middle of the lake, there's not too many things that can go wrong, and when they do go wrong, generally they somebody's there to take care of them, and it doesn't get reported. Whereas when you're on something like a three-wheeler or a snowmobile and so forth, things that's a situation where one slip and it can go very wrong, and that obviously would make the incidents seem much higher than they were.
Jim, where does hunting come into this picture?
Well, I looked at the reported hunting accidents from '87 to the present, and there was a total of 67 reported hunting accidents, and alcohol was not a part of any of those. There was no alcohol or drug-related incidences while hunting. So hunters in Maine, good marks in that respect.
I just touched upon boating, and you being in a coastal area and so forth down there. How big a play, how much of a play does alcohol get with respect to boating? Are there any stats to support that claim, either favorably or unfavorably?
The stats that I saw really didn't support my feeling about it. And living in the coastal area, a lot of the people that I see happen to be fishermen, commercial fishermen, who have alcohol problems, and I see some of those for individual counseling. And it just seems to me that virtually 3/4 of my practice are people who in some way are connected with boating, either commercial fishery or recreational, and all of them seem to have an alcohol problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that all fishermen or all people who
Right.
use boats have a problem, but I would think that the amount of abuse in boating accidents is much higher than what's been reported.
In your background prior to coming to Blue Hill, you've had considerable experience in this field and so forth. How much of a threat drugs and alcohol to our young people? I mean in the secondary and high school level.
I think they're a tremendous threat, and I've had many discussions about this subject with some of my peers in the area. One of the things that I like to see happen in schools, and this is in elementary school, is I'd like to see a curriculum developed that that kids in elementary grades, say 5th, 6th grade, would be required to take for a full semester to educate them about drugs and alcohol and about making right choices and how the choices that they make now are going to affect them later on. I think that some of the efforts that are being made now are okay, but far from adequate. I think we need much more education if we're going to really make a dent in this problem.
Well, what influences a 15-year-old boy or girl to take either one of these roads?
Some of it's peer pressure. A lot of it's what Mike was talking about before. How they feel about themselves, their self-esteem, sense of self-worth, family background, family values. A lot of kids today, alcohol and drugs are just a normal part of everyday home life, unfortunately, and they don't see anything wrong with it.
Where do you think they first get in contact with it? At school, at home, with their friends out late night parties, or?
Most of the people that I've talked to as adults tell me that their first experience with alcohol, especially, was in the home when they were a youngster.
So not with their parents, but being at home, they...
Oftentimes with their parents, at a party, somebody will leave a glass of beer or drink laying on a table, and the kid will go and drink it. And
that's where it starts.
Oftentimes.
In the education process here that goes with this, I don't know what I'm grasping here for a question, but what are we doing as a people in the state of Maine to wipe out this threat to our young people? I mean, I can't think of anything more tragic than a 15 or 16-year-old child, a drug victim that has to be sent away to a rehab for rehabilitation. What a dreadful happening on a young person.
Right.
But what are we doing to prevent that? Beyond commercials on television, sports stars getting up there and saying don't do and all this, what are we doing?
Well, those things are good. Again, I think that education is the key to this thing. Values. Values play a big part in it. How do we feel about drugs and alcohol in our society? Do we accept them? Do we not accept them?
And I think that's an important part too. The problem really is twofold. The problem is allowing our adult population to understand that alcoholism, that drug abuse is not right. It's bad, and because of that, if mom and dad feel that it's bad, then the child will also understand that's perhaps a bad road and so forth. But as long as drugs and alcohol are freely used in our society, they will be continued to be used by children, and we'll continue to have that problem.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with anybody wants to have a drink once in a while and drinks responsibly. But all too often, people.
I'm going to keep pressing you here because there's something here that I can't get to satisfy myself.
Okay.
But are sports doing enough? I mean, are the coaches doing enough? Are the kids who participate, is enough emphasis being directed in that direction to stay the hell out of this mess between booze and drugs and so forth? Do you think we're doing enough in that area? I mean, to me, sports are the greatest things in the world. I mean, I've lived with sports all my life. And
yeah.
If ever there's an opportunity to tell boys and girls that this is wrong, just as wrong as stealing. I mean, is this message being pressed in that direction?
I think it is. I'd like to see it done a little more forcefully, or a little more often. I think that the sports organizations do a good job.
I don't mean the major leagues. I mean on our level in Maine. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay. In Maine, I don't know. I think it's very individualized situations. I think it goes from school to school. Depends on the philosophy of the school, how they view their problems. Some schools are in complete denial of any drug and alcohol problems in their schools, and others are very aware of it, very open to it, and are doing something about it.
How is the comparison with the schools that don't think they have one? Do they have, I mean, the ones that are denying it, do they have more of a problem than the schools that do not deny it?
I don't know if they have more of a problem. They're just trying to pretend that it doesn't exist, and therefore they're not doing anything about it.
Because a high school student, I know, I mean, when I was in high school, college was like the big time.
Yeah.
And then when you're in college, you know, the major leagues are the big time. But I mean, the high school level, people are looking to college a lot. And if what they watch college students do, and they party a lot.
That's true.
Does Jim Condon feel that we're making gains to rub out this menace?
I think we're making gains in some areas and other areas not, okay? And I think if we try to look at the problem globally, I don't think we're making a very big dent. I think we're going to make the significant gains are in small individual areas, one at a time, you know, because in a concentrated effort, you'll have more success. You try to attack a problem like this on a global basis, it's very difficult to do because there's so many people involved.
What can you tell one person out there tonight who is on the edge, the knife's edge on this thing of falling into deep trouble with respect to either booze or drugs? What can you tell that person looking into that camera?
Well, I would say that there's alternatives. There's other things that you can do to help yourself to solve your problems, make yourself feel better than to get involved with drugs and alcohol. You know, find a counselor to talk to. You know, find someone that you know who's not involved with drugs and alcohol and tell them how you're feeling. You know, you can talk to a minister, you can talk to a counselor, you can talk to a teacher in school. You know, there's a lot of other alternatives than to, you know, giving into the drugs and alcohol problem.
And the Blue Hill Memorial Hospital stands ready to help.
Absolutely, day and night.
Michael, what are your plans for this winter?
Well, again, I'm
We're going to try to raise
continue.
$100,000
Well,
last year.
we never set a goal as to what we're going to do. I was absolutely amazed that snowmobilers who work 40 and 50 and 60 hours a week at their job and with their family turn around and run a tremendous organization like the Maine Snowmobile Association and snowmobile clubs, and then turn around and raise over $100,000 for the Pine Tree Camp.
Do you know what that means?
It's just amazing.
That means for the Pine Tree crippled children. Last time I wrote that was over 500,000. You got to be over 600,000.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Easily. Every winter, these people gather, and various clubs compete, and they raise funds, and then the grand day happens at Sebastopol over there, and they all make their reports, and you know, $100,000, 107 last year.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and you know, we often hear about people in other countries, you know, fighting for what they believe in and so forth. And take a look at what Americans and what Maine people are doing in fighting for the cause that they believe in. They have believed in this for the last 17 years, and have always been willing to come back and be stronger at it each time. So we've got some tremendous people working for us, and we're looking for a bright future at camp.
President Bush chose you as one of his shining lights, right?
That's right. And I'm a Democrat, which is really amazing.
What? And he invited you at the White House?
Yeah, but there's some super activities going on right now. Obviously, Senator Cohen has been a strong advocate of people with disabilities, as a lot of people throughout the state and throughout the nation have made. And with ADA, with more hopefully pitching in and helping do their part, and having programs like the Pine Tree Society and the Pine Tree Camp, things are going to get better. They really are.
You're quite a cat.
Boy.
Huh?
I mean, the people that you deal with, and like someone like him, night and day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, this is like rejuvenates us after
Well, I
listening
think,
to him.
again, we touched on a part of it so much as I like me. I understand what my capabilities are, and I like them despite having a disability. And one of the things we've really got
Do
to
you ever
focus
get up in the
on.
morning unhappy?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Sure, I do all the time. But I'm not unhappy because I don't have any arms. I'm unhappy because I don't make enough money, or yesterday didn't go the way I wanted it to, or things like that. But as I say, I like me and I like my capabilities, and I think that's what more people have to understand and do, both handicapped and non-handicapped.
He hasn't realized his full potential yet.
He what?
He hasn't realized his full potential.
What are you going to do? He's a Democrat running for president?
We're in for trouble.
Huh? You're in for trouble with Mike. Tell John Henry he's new in the show.
Yeah.
And kind of taking care of his, his father said, take care of this lad. See, you know who his dad is? He forbids me to, Ted Williams' his father.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
no.
I know you didn't know
No.
it, so he's, so I'm just letting him sit in and see how hard I work for my money.
I see.
Tell John Henry about the work that they do at the Pine Tree Camp.
The Pine Tree
You
Camp.
got about 30 seconds.
The Pine Tree Camp is a summer camp for children with disabilities. We don't receive any state or federal aid to pay for the program. All of our money comes from direct donations. We also don't ask that moms and dads pay for the program. In fact, children can go to Pine Tree Camp for 2 weeks and pay absolutely nothing for the service. We want all children to come, but our main focus is to allow children to be out in the state of Maine and enjoy fishing and boating and swimming and learn to do these things and learn to have a good life. But on top of that, when you teach children what we can learn in the state of Maine, you also allow them to feel better about themselves, to understand what their capabilities are, and to have a happy, healthy, more productive life. And that's the offshoot, the real benefits of having a program like camp.
Jim Condon, good luck in your program. If we can help at any time, yell out.
Thank you very much, Bud.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John Henry. Good night, everyone.
Along the mountain track, and as I go, I love to sing my knapsack on my back. The lead, the